Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today for our very first Behind the Mask webinar. The idea came about because we cannot go to schools right now. We can't take you to schools, and we can't have events where you can meet our families and our students. And so we thought, well, let's have an event where we take people behind the mask and they get to see a little bit of what it's like to be educated and to educate during this time of the pandemic. To lead you on this adventure today, I want to introduce you to Nicole Serrato. Nicole was once a CSF scholar herself. She received a scholarship in 7th grade after her father saw our co-founder, Teddy Forsman, on an Oprah Winfrey show. At the time, Nicole was struggling in school, and when her father saw the opportunity to get a scholarship, he jumped on it. Nicole went from being a student having trouble to a student who was getting A's, who went on to be her school class treasurer, went on to get into college. She deferred it for a while because she decided that she was going to just work and figure out what she wanted to do. And all the while she was pursuing creative things on the side. Eventually, and also all the while she was thinking, who are these people that helped me get an education? Who are these people who didn't know anything about me but helped me get a scholarship and get an education? And she was always thinking she was going to pay that forward or pay it back. It worked out well for CSF because when she moved to New York City to pursue her creative pursuits, going to the City College of New York, where she just graduated with a film degree, she came back to CSF, and we've had the privilege of having her work with us for the last 2 years. And we certainly know that she has found her true calling. She's awesome at what she does. She has a great passion and a great heart. Quality of her work is excellent. And so today, she's going to take us on this journey with a student and someone who's actually from Morgan Stanley, who's got us Lights on Broadway. So Nicole, I'll let you introduce the interviewees today and take it away.
Thank you so much, Darla. I'm really excited to be here today and start off and kick off this webinar with everyone. Just wanted to lay a couple of just kind of ground rules on the Q&A section after. There's going to be a segment where we're going to, like Darla said, talk to Isabella and talk to Priscilla, and then there's going to be a Q&A after. There is a Q&A and comment section, which is where you would put your questions. If you want to come on live onto the screen and personally ask your questions to either Isabella or Priscilla or Darla, go ahead and put an asterisk next to your question and we'll ask you to come on live. If you prefer not to come on screen and would just like us to ask the question for you, don't put an asterisk and we won't ask you to do that. So now I'm going to be introducing Isabella. She received a scholarship from CSF. Well, right now she's currently attending St. Catharine Academy in the Bronx, where she's on the softball team and participates in a mock trial. Isabella became a CSF scholar when she started at Good Shepherd Catholic School in Inwood section of Upper Manhattan. And several months ago, she wrote a blog post about the experience of getting a CSF scholarship that was published by the American Federation for Children. And I'm going to read that quote here. The scholarship that I received in grades K through 8th helped me become a better student. I was able to attend a Catholic school that not only challenged my educational abilities, but allowed me to continue pursuing my goals by getting accepted into an excellent high school. I hope to become a lawyer and donate to the scholarships that helped me throughout the years of school. Hopefully I'm able to make a difference in someone else's life. And so you'll see Isabella up here on screen. That was an amazing article and a quote that you wrote. So thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. So we want to just ask a couple of questions about your current experience in high school right now. How's the school year going so far? Can you walk us through like what a typical day looks like for you?
Yeah, so the school year is actually pretty great. So usually I wake up in the morning and I'll go on my commute to school. So my commute to school is usually about 40 minutes. So I take 2 buses, but right now, since my dad goes the same way, he drives me halfway. And then for the second half, I get on the bus. A typical day consists of me walking in and we get our temperatures taken at the door. We have to wear a mask the whole day. So yeah, and then after that, we go to our first period and we stay there for about 40 minutes. Each period is about 40 minutes. And we also stay there for homeroom. So, and then we just switch classes.
Okay, and now Well, I mean, what happens? So in the morning, their temperatures taken every morning. Is there any other protocols that are new that, that are different this semester?
Yeah. So usually every Sunday when we go in for a new week, we have to fill out a form or like a survey that says like, have we been exposed to like coronavirus, or like how has our temperature been? Have we had any changes over the weekend? And you have to present that survey every Monday at the front door in order to get in.
Okay. And how long is your commute to school?
So usually my commute to school is about 40 minutes, but because not that many people are on the bus around this time, because of like the circumstances that we are in, my commute is probably about 30 minutes back and forth.
Okay. So being that your commute is kind of long, why did you decide to go in person 5 days a week instead of doing remote learning?
Yeah. So I think I personally, I feel too comfortable at home. At home, I have access to so many things. If I want, I could just turn on my TV instead of doing my schoolwork. So I thought that the in-person experience was better for me because I don't have that I guess I don't have the like self-discipline to be at home and just stay home and actually like do my schoolwork. And in school, we are still allowed to like socialize with our classmates. We just have to keep our distance, and we could also socialize with the kids on Zoom too. So it's
nice. How does that work? How do you socialize with the other students via Zoom?
Yeah, so our teacher puts our classmates on Zoom on the smartboard. So we are allowed to see them and they're allowed to hear us. The only thing is that they can't see us, but we could still have class discussions over Zoom and socialize over Zoom.
Wow. Okay. That's pretty cool. How do you think that your school has responded to the COVID-19? Do you think they've responded well? And like what changes have they implemented?
Yeah, so I think they responded amazing. In the classrooms, each desk are 6 feet apart. We're required to wear our masks the whole day. There's hand sanitizer all around the school. So if you ever feel the need, you can just ask, or we have automatic hand sanitizer dispensers everywhere. We have to like sanitize our desks after every period to make sure that it's safe for the next person that comes into that classroom. So I feel like they've responded to COVID well. They enforce the 6 feet distance rule all the time in the hallways, in class. So I feel like they handled COVID-19 very well.
Wow. After every class, you have to wipe down your desk.
Yeah.
And how are students doing with complying with all of those rules and like the new way that the school is being run?
I feel like we are complying well with the rules because we came in understanding that this is what we had to do when we decided to go in person. So we understand that like this is what we have to take, the proper precautions in order to be in school and to continue being in school.
Okay, great. Now, why did you initially choose St. Catharine Academy? Why was it important for you to go there? And are you happy with that choice?
Yeah, so I went to many schools. I visited many schools, most of them being in Manhattan. So for example, I visited Cathedral, St. Jean Baptiste. And when I visited those schools, I personally felt that they were not the school for me. But when I went to St. Catharine, I felt very welcomed. I liked the clubs that they were offering, the academics. They had many APs, which really intrigued me. And I am happy with my choice. I'm happy that I chose St. Catharine's. I love the school. I love representing my school. So I'm happy that I chose my school.
Amazing. That's really great to hear. Now, I'm going to just kind of get to go into a different segue. How were you and your family affected by COVID?
So me and my family were greatly affected by COVID. It was very new to like many people, just like it was to many people. We weren't used to like having to be home all the time. We're a family that likes to socialize, likes to go out places, just enjoy time together. So having to be home all the time affected like what we were able to do, but we figured out ways at home to be able to just figure out things to do. So we'll have like movie nights, or where we'll make dinner together, things like that.
Nice. Okay. Is there any positives that came out of the shutdown from you anything that you learned going through that experience?
Yeah, you learn that anything can happen and you just have to move according to the circumstances that you are in. And you just develop new skills that you can adapt to everyday life situations.
Okay. And how do you think your teachers and guidance counselors are handling the changes, doing things differently?
I feel like they've handled the changes amazing. They are continuing to let us interact with the students at home. So they're trying not to create that distance that I know some people may think that we have, where like Zoom students don't get the same attention that we get because we're in school. So for example, one of my teachers has 2 cameras. So one he puts on the smartboard so that we can see obviously what he's doing. And then the other one is so they can see him. So they feel like they're also having that in-person experience.
Okay, nice, very innovative. And so let's go back into time a little. How is this fall, learning in school different from your experience last spring when you had to learn remote?
Yeah, so I feel like last spring, because it was so new to everybody, a lot of my teachers weren't used to Zoom or weren't used to the video call. So I rarely had any video calls when like in March. And then for a certain time in this September, I had to stay home before they allowed us to go back in school. So during that time, I could see a complete difference in like distance learning. So we had to get on Zoom every day and we had to be there by a certain time. And if you're late, then they call your parents and let them know that like you need to be on Zoom or you were absent that day. So they're more strict on us being in class and not falling behind.
Okay, great. And so the last question I have for you, Isabella, is you were very young when you received a scholarship from CSF. Did you know that your family was getting a scholarship when they sent you to the school? How did you realize that you were a CSF scholarship, or that you were a CSF scholar? And did you receive another scholarship after that?
Yeah, I was very young when I received the CFS scholarship. I'm pretty sure my mom had told me, and I was very happy to receive this scholarship, very appreciative. Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to go to my school and helping my parents out with tuition. And in St. Catherine's, I do receive a scholarship. It's called the Trustee Scholarship. So you have to obtain a 94 average or above throughout the school year to get the scholarship, and it pays off for 55% of your tuition.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, thank you so much for giving us an insight to what school is like right now, being back in the fall. And
thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thank you. And we hope to hear how you're doing in the future when you become a lawyer. So
thank you so much.
You're welcome. This month and all through October, we actually are featured in Times Square. So there's a message feature in CSF will be playing several times each hour at the signage of the Morgan Stanley global headquarters as a part of the financial firm's Lights on Broadway program, which helps build awareness for nonprofits that the company supports. So if you happen to be in Times Square before the end of the month, don't forget to look up at the Morgan Stanley building and see the signage at 1585 Broadway between 47th and 48th Street. And while you're there, if you want to take a quick selfie and share the photo with the hashtag join CSF so we can help spread the word about the difference that we're making. And so now I'm going to go ahead and show you what that looks like. So just give me 1 second. So that's the signage in the Times Square. And here we have next is going to be, I'm going to be introducing Priscilla Habeeb. And she is the co-chair of CSF's Young Leaders Board, which is a network of young individuals professionals that support CSF's mission through fundraising, through volunteering, and helping raise awareness about CSF. She is also a VP in the Legal and Compliance Division at Morgan Stanley, where she's also a member of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee and actively involved in the Summer Program Internship Subcommittee. As well as being involved with CSF, she is also a committee member of UNICEF's Next Generation, Next Gen, and a member of the Council on the American Islamic Relations. And so without further ado, this is Priscilla. Thank you.
Hi, Nicole. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today.
Yes. So it's really exciting, everything that you've been doing with CSF. And we want to go back in time a little bit and find out, like, how did you hear about CSF and what made you join and eventually co-chair the Young Leaders Board?
Sure. Yeah, no, I can take a couple of minutes on that. So my journey through CSF has been quite personal. I myself am a first generation. My parents, as well as my husband, they come from a Caribbean country of Guyana in South America in the West Indies. And they've, my parents especially have really instilled the value of education. They came to America about 35 years ago and had no resources, didn't really know how the system worked or, what exactly to do. So they put my brother and I both through private school. We went to Catholic schools here in Long Island, and they did that on their own, working 3 or 4 jobs at a time, to kind of put us through it financially. So it definitely was a burden to them financially, but I think, for them, it was more instilling the value of education and what the impact of education can do for the future. And, same likewise with my husband and his family, coming from similar backgrounds, and also, looking to instill the value of education. So when I was looking to get more involved at more of a leadership level, I was hoping to give more back in an impact that I can make personally. And when I came across, Children's Scholarship Fund, just from some online research, I realized, wow, a lot of these students remind me of myself. They're coming from similar households, similar backgrounds, diverse, and really looking to make an impact on their future. A lot of these parents, when I meet them, they remind me so much of my own parents and my own family. So glad that we can continue to support folks and really educate folks on the opportunities that are out there and also the resources that I think that CSF really provides to the community, which is something that I hope to continue to do with this organization throughout the years.
Yeah, that's an amazing story, and it's really exciting, the work that you're doing, and we want to hear more about that. What kind of volunteer activities are you involved with, that your teams are involved with CSF?
Sure. Yeah. So I will be with Morgan Stanley as of 10 years in November. One of the core values of this firm is to give back. And I think that's really what resonates with me. And in being here for so long, the 10 years have really flashed before my eyes. And a lot of that has to do with the culture and the people here, and also the firm's commitment to make sure that our personal lives are wedded into our work life. So I've had the opportunity, especially within our legal and compliance division, to really showcase to my colleagues, this is something that's important to me. We've hosted throughout the years different literacy day events at different schools in the tri-state area with CSF, where we've had festivals around just literacy and reading and being able to showcase the importance of literacy. We've also hosted some virtual book drives to be able to give back to libraries for some of the partner schools with CSF, as well as just doing some field day activities, which I think is fun, and also just a way to kind of understand and learn about the students a little bit more that are being provided scholarship and some help.
Yeah, and so you talked about relating to a lot of the parents and students, and it sounds like these volunteer activities have given you the opportunity to meet some of those parents and students. And so what was that experience like, meeting the parents and the students? And
It was inspirational and hopeful all at the same time. I feel like there's much work to do in this space. I think, every student and every child deserves an opportunity. And I think meeting the parents and children firsthand and the students firsthand really just provides hope to myself that, we've come a long way, but there's still more work to do. And just knowing that, this little piece, whether it be, small or big impact in anybody's life, is really meaningful to people. And, these students, they're just so proactive, and it amazes me how much, they're not taking their education for granted, which is definitely, I think, something that sticks out every single time I meet a student. I've never walked away from an event or just meeting a student or a family to say, wow, they're really understanding the breadth of the opportunity that they're receiving.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I want to talk a little bit more of Lights on Broadway. What does it mean to you to have the Children's Scholarship Fund featured on the billboards in Times Square through the Lights on Broadway program?
I'm thrilled, first and foremost, and just very excited. I think, CSF has just come a long way just in the partnership that we've had with Morgan Stanley. I think over the 4 or 5 years that I've been with this organization, we've really done so much to kind of partner and make sure that the word has been able to spread throughout the community. So just the showcase of the billboard in Times Square is just the cherry on top of the ice cream, where we really are just so happy and ecstatic to see the impact there, and hope that everybody on the line can go and visit Times Square. I did with the CSF staff, and it's just amazing and even more impactful to see it in person.
Yeah, definitely. Can you tell us more about Morgan Stanley Lights on Broadway program, and what does that entail? What does that mean for CSF, and what are their what other events or plans does Morgan Stanley have around that?
Sure. Yeah. So a little bit about Lights on Broadway. The way that program works is, for each month in the year, Lights on Broadway, we focus on one partner affiliate organization. So it's a very rigorous process actually to get involved and actually chosen for the Lights on Broadway program. So for CSF to even to make it to that point, I think is just fantastic and really just shows the commitment of, the corporate world to CSF. So we like to partner with a organization each month, as I mentioned, and I think that involves just being able to push out what the word of that organization is through our employees globally, and we host different events as well as social media announcements throughout the month, just tailored to those organizations and how Morgan Stanley staff can get more involved. So, for example, due to COVID and the pandemic, we would in normal times be in person and be able to either host some seminars or events around CSF and the partnership with Morgan Stanley. But since we're all mostly working from home for the remainder of the year, we are doing virtual webinars similar to this at Morgan Stanley, just to educate employees about CSF, the mission of CSF, and how others can get involved.
That's amazing. It's really exciting to have you a part of CSF Young Leaders Board and just an activist for education in general. And so thank you so much for your time. We're going to go into the Q&A section and answer some questions from the people who are here. So we're going to bring Isabella back up, and we have a question for her already. And so remember, again, you can type in your questions in the Q&A section, put an asterisk next to your question if you want to come on screen and personally ask your question. And here we go. Isabella, this one is for you. What percentage of your fellow students are back in person versus the ones that opt for remote learning? And can the students who are going remote now opt back to live in classroom teaching at some point this year?
So it's about 30 to 40% in school. And if you chose remote, you would have to email our principal and let her know so she can make accommodations to see if you can fit in. So I know a few people that were on remote before and came back in. However, it wasn't like said that this should happen. Like they don't want many students coming back, because then they have to make great accommodations for it. And they already made accommodations for the people who agreed that they were coming in prior.
Nicole, can I just share too that about 100% of CSF scholars are going to schools where they had the option of live in-person learning. So you could opt to do the virtual learning like's happening in Isabella's school, and that's a big deal because so many schools across the country are not open for learning. And these schools, the private schools, had to figure out how to do it, and they've done it well. Isabella, has anybody been sick at your school? Has anybody gotten sick?
No, nobody has gotten sick in my school.
And you've been open since when?
We have been open since September 18th.
Okay, and everybody stayed healthy and
Yes.
you know. So how many people are in the building every day? Do you know? You have any idea?
I would say about maybe at most 200.
But think about that. That's 200 people in the building every day and nobody's gotten sick, and it's October 21st. Yeah, it's pretty good.
That's pretty great. Well, we have another question that just came through the Q&A section for you, Isabella. How will the college admission process be different for you? Will you be able to tour colleges? What do you expect that experience to be like?
So I feel like it's going to be a little different just because I feel like now I have to do a lot of things on my own, and I'm getting support from my parents and my peers just to start applying to colleges and looking into colleges. So I've just been looking into some colleges on my own and trying to figure out where I want to go.
Nice. Okay. I mean, yeah, that's definitely different. We have another question for Priscilla, which is, what has been your reaction of your team members, you know, to the new COVID situation and having to give back, or not having to give, but giving back during this time? Like, how have they handled that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think, you know, we are definitely trying to be creative in how to give back. Some of the things that we've been doing obviously have been virtual. So, you know, less of the in-person events and more into, you know, virtual drive. So for example, with CSF specifically, we're going to be hosting here in the fall a PPE drive where we can be able to donate PPE or much needed PPE to specific partner schools with CSF. So the firm is looking to host, you know, very various types of virtual drives similar to that.
Okay, wonderful. And so we do have a question from Charmaine, who asked Isabella, how many feet apart are students sitting in class?
So they're sitting 6 feet apart in class. All desks are 6 feet apart from every side. So we really aren't allowed to like get in close distance or close proximity of each other.
Okay. Amazing. We actually have we're going back to Priscilla. Can you talk a little bit about what the drive that you're doing, the PPE drive you said? What is that and what does that entail?
Yeah, so that's mostly around sanitary products. So face mask, hand sanitizer, any type of cleaning supplies. We're looking to put together some Amazon wish list where employees will be able to go to Amazon directly and order supplies to be sent to, you know, specific schools that are in need through the CSF cohort.
And that's so greatly appreciated because just from speaking to our schools, it's costing them at least $100,000 a year, upwards of that, much more, just to deal with with COVID. In addition to everything else, our schools already operate on pretty tight budgets. So that's really greatly appreciated.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be a huge help for the schools. So we're coming to an end of the Behind the Mask series, and we'd like to get a last comment from each of our panelists. Isabella, if you could just give us one brief sentence on your experience back at school and, you know, what you think people should be thinking about that right now.
So my experience back at school has been wonderful. I would encourage everybody, if they have the opportunity and they think that in-person learning is the best for them, I would encourage them to go back in. I feel like every school is taking the necessary precautions that they need to take in order to stay in and continue to stay in school. Amazing. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. And Priscilla, if you want to leave us one last thought.
Sure. Yeah. For the students that are on the line and the families, continue to do what you're doing. Your drive, I think, is tremendous. What you put behind these kids and the students, I think, is going to continue to make an impact in the long run and your future. So I really thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And then lastly, we want to hear one last word from Darla.
Well, I hope we don't have to stay behind the mask for too long, but while we are hoping that you'll join us for more of these webinars in the future.
Yes, exactly. So thank you for everyone who joined.
Thank you for everyone, the panelists. Yeah, thank you, Nicole. Thanks to everyone. I really enjoyed hearing from you both, and always from you, Nicole.
Thank you. So we'll see you next time on Behind the Mask. Thank you, and have a great evening, everyone. Bye.